Alright everyone, I am back. Let's go ahead and continue on with the MSQ. Something I will say here is that if we actually are getting the Final Fantasy IV Fiends, those are battles I am really looking forward to. Before Final Fantasy XIV became my favorite, Final Fantasy IV was my favorite Final Fantasy, so this is definitely exciting times here. Shall we begin? If we're to spend the treasure wisely, then we must first determine which groups would benefit most from monetary assistance. Some of my citizens may find it intimidating to speak with the satrap directly, so I would ask that you act in my stead. Prince, you are to visit Akiali and Yedlimad. Speak with Matoya and his people and listen to their grievances. Estinian, I bid you do the same at Palaka Stand. I will be conducting my own inquiries at the Giant's Gall ground. Once you believe you have ascertained the means of the needs of the populace, we can reconvene at Megaduta. Alright, let us speak to Matoya. Once again, that has taken us to the southeast here. Oh, Prince, I was so glad to see you had returned unharmed. You finished with the boat, then? Anything the village desperately needs? Well, I suppose Kalzal's loss hit us the hardest. I've been trying to find buyers for my fish, but although I sell a few here and there, it's so much more difficult than it was before. Everyone's still struggling to rebuild their lives. For now, we're just banding together as best we can. Alright, and then over to Yedlimad. My goodness, these names keep tripping me up here. Greetings and welcome, traveler. If this is your first visit to Thavnair, then you must try my special Amra Lassi. Its refreshing zest cannot be beat. What could such a wonder cost, you wonder? Normally, I part with 3 bottles for the generous price of 19,800 gil, but for you, I am willing to go as low as even 10,000. You'd be practically stealing from me. Yeah, I met you. Well, Estinian tried to buy from you when everybody arrived in this town and got the Aether sickness. I am not Estinian. Estinian? Who is Ah! You're the one who was with that spear-toting fellow. Well, you can hardly blame a man for trying. The world may no longer be on fire, but we are still sifting through the ashes, so to speak. Sister, spare me, we might as well have that ugly tower back for the scant few travelers we see these days. I myself barely have the coin to buy at local prices. I tell you, if I didn't charge the odd adventurer a small fortune for afternoon tea, I'd be scavenging for scraps in the street. How fares the port? Well, it's in shambles, isn't it? The trade routes are open once more now that the danger has passed, certainly. But no small number of merchants have had to sell their ships to make ends meet in the short term. Add to that the sailors we lost in the final days, and it's little wonder the flow of exports is no more than a pitiful trickle. If Kalzal and his consortium were still with us, I'm sure he'd have found a way to turn our fortunes around. Now that was a man who got things done, God rest his soul. We have spoken with key local figures and gained an understanding of the populace's hardships. Varshan awaits your report at Megaduda. Alright, back to Radz-At-Han. I mean, there certainly seems to be a decent stockpile in that treasury. I don't know, maybe give everybody 2 million gil and just be done with it. Ah, my advisor's return. I just made it back myself. Yeah, Lord Samuel, I saw that video as well. But I believe that was on Famfrit that he did that. Why do you retain this vessel now that your true form is known? You could have flown across the island in a fraction of the time. Be that as it may, the sight of a massive creature descending from the sky can be startling to say the least. And there are a few places I can enter comfortably without risk of flattening some cart or stall. Fair enough. As for my inquiries, the people of Palaka's stand were unanimous in their reply. They are surviving. Resources were stretched to the limit when refugees were pouring in, but they persevered with some assistance from Yedli Mad. From what I understand, they have always been an independent community, hunters and foragers and the like, and I was assured that the jungle provides for their needs, for the most part. Palaka's stand has weathered the disaster better than most, it seems. I myself heard good news and bad. The quarrymen were cautiously optimistic, having just sold a full wagon of giant's gall to a foreign trader. But such visitors are few and far between. Compared to our best years, the weight of stone leaving Thavnair has been light indeed. Our nation is small and isolated, its prosperity dependent on the steady stream of exports. We must identify any obstacles to the flow of trade so we may begin working to remove them. Tell me, what did you learn in Akiali and Yedlimat? Yeah, they just don't have enough people coming in. I see. Without a dedicated buyer, the average fishman must struggle to offload his daily cash. Which is why I believe we should first address the lack of ships and shortage of able-bodied sailors in Yedlimat. I am reminded of a child I spied as I made my way back to the palace. His father lost at sea when the beast sunk their vessel. So many variations of the same tragic tale, repeated over and over. So many lives lost. Enough grief to drown in if we let ourselves be overcome. But we will not. Prince Estinian, I will consider the perspective you brought me, and devise a plan to help my people confront this adversity. Come, I would like you to be in attendance when I announce the proposal to my assembled functionaries.
Thank you for your attendance. The riches the Radiant Host have retrieved were hoarded in Al-Zadal's name. A fortune I set aside for a future day of need. And lo, that day hath come. May it aid our wounded city in reclaiming its vibrancy and vigor. In better times, I would leave such a task to our capable Ahawan. God's rest his soul. Finding myself bereft of his counsel in the here and now, I will assume the responsibilities of mine office directly. Firstly, the treasure shall be sold for more convenient currency. Thence, invested into the trading port of Yedlamad. Our merchants must have their operations restored, their ships rebuilt. Commerce must flow once more. None were spared the tragedy of the final days. Of this, I am well aware. But an absence was created by the loss of Karazal's consortium. And by filling it, we provide new means for our fishermen, our artisans, and others to bring their wares to distant markets.
And what of the children who were left without family to care for them?
That is a concern which weigheth heavily upon my mind. A simple gift of coin will soon be exhausted, leaving these young souls adrift on the fringes of our society.
And to set up an orphanage?
Nay, a proper solution is needed, one which doth guarantee their welfare for years to come. Thou hast surely seen how other nations rise to meet this challenge, adventurer. What dost thou deem the wisest course?
Idleshire's orphanage was funded through trade in highly coveted goods.
Of course, we can draw on trading profits to build a new institution. Let us put this idea into practice. A contract shall be written, requiring all who receive of Al-Zadal's treasure to commit a portion of their future earnings towards the running of an orphanage. Now, such an influential policy is deserving of a worthy name.
Something with Kalzal seems appropriate.
A fitting candidate. Kalzal should be remembered, not as the blasphemy which terrorized Thavner, but as a hard-working and generous man who brought much wealth to our shores. Do any among you object to this proposition? Many here lost loved ones to the beasts.
In that time of strife, any one of us could have broken. Any one of us may have been taken by despair. When I think of Kalzal, I feel no hatred. Only a stinging regret that we could not save him as well. Isn't that right, men?
This bodes well for that boy. Mirad, was it? Perhaps he can cut ties with that shady peddler.
Then let it be done. Henceforth, this initiative shall be known as the Kalzal Foundation. Nabdeen, thou art to assemble a patrol and ensure that no child in this city liveth in squalor. Clerks, see to the management of our funds and make haste. Our citizens must not suffer a day more than is necessary.
Dragon and man, side by side in pursuit of a brighter morrow. I'm reminded of Ishgard.
You think you're ever gonna head back there? Alright, let's see what we got this time. I'll go with the Slycon this time. It's the stuff I've been using, after all. Alright, let's speak with the veteran Radiant. Thank you for putting forth Kalzal's name. Those whose lives he enriched will take comfort in seeing his legacy honored. You will forgive me for not speaking sooner, but I bear a message from Archon Y'shtola. She asks that you meet her at the High Crucible at your earliest convenience. Understood. Thank you. Y'shtola must have finished her study of the Void Gate. Shall we hear what she has to say then? I shall go with you. I thought the satrap would be too busy setting up the foundation. My clerks have been well-oiled cogs of this administration since before Ahawan assumed the office. They understand what needs to be done. And I am curious to learn what conclusions your Archon has reached concerning the gate's unique construction. As you wish, allow me to lead the way, Your Excellency. Alright, so that is going to take us over to there. So actually, let me hit the teleport crystal over here. The Aethernet shard, rather. To the Aetherite Plaza. Alright, Y'shtola.
Right, here we all are.
You discovered something new.
I took a closer look at that device. I was able to determine how it keeps the Void Gate sealed. but not how it might instead be employed to expand the opening. For that, I would need to reference the technique developed by Vrtra's alchemists, no records of which appear to have survived the intervening years.
We know this, so why have you sent for us? Have you learned aught of value or not?
Patience, good sir. One must introduce the subject before launching into specifics. From what we understand, travel between worlds is accomplished by passing through the nebulous rift which exists between them. Picture, if you will, the moment you were called to the first.
Covered in that cloud.
You touched a focus of some kind to help the Exarch pinpoint your location. His summoning spell then channeled the energies of the Crystal Tower to begin your journey to his world. The magics tore a hole in the wall separating source and shard, and cast you into the intervening nothingness. In that place, the laws of nature hold no sway. Yet even through this realm of temporal and spatial instability, you were borne safely to your destination in the first. The feat that guided you across such an unimaginable distance, both physical and metaphorical, was nothing short of a miracle.
Is she going to be building a serpent road to connect the different worlds? Or shards, rather?
Then what of the many voids sent found in the source? Who guides them here, and how?
An excellent question. Though there are several methods by which the Void's denizens might intrude upon our world, the rituals of summoning are the most typical. For example, let us consider the Gargoyle, a creature of middling power. To call upon such an entity, the prospective summoner must force open a void gate. The portal lasts but a moment and is relatively small, allowing only an imp or other lesser being to squeeze through with their physical body intact. Our more powerful Gargoyle, however, is too large for that. Creating a gate big enough for him would require vast amounts of energy, far beyond the reserves of any one mortal practitioner.
Why does that look like a potential new zone?
Instead, 'tis far more common to bring over only the entity's soul. We had a taste of that ourselves when a certain Exarch dragged us to the first. And just as our bodies remained in our world, the Void Sense physical form is left behind in the 13th. Once at its destination, the summoned soul is granted a temporary shell to inhabit. In the Gargoyle's case, A stone effigy has proven a suitable vessel.
Wait. You said that Voidsent must be called here deliberately by someone in the source, reeled in like a fisherman with his catch.
Exactly. For a being to navigate the chaos of the rift, with or without form, there must needs be a guiding agent on the other side.
So how are we gonna get to the other shards then?
When the hordes poured forth from Alag's Great Gate, it was the technologists who drew them through.
I suppose it's possible also to just take the hyper hopper to the other shards in the end.
Though to my knowledge, planar fissures are in essence natural passages between our world and the void, which require no such guidance to traverse. Why is only the boundary between the source and the 13th so fragile? So much so that it often tears open of its own accord.
I believe solving that mystery is key to understanding travel between the source and its reflections.
And how do you intend to get your answers?
No. The danger is too great.
Perhaps. But what some call danger, others think of as adventure.
I
Were
hear
you
ya.
not listening to my tale? Never mind that the means to expand the gate has been lost to the ages. Even could you force the portal wide enough, you would be greeted by an army of murderous horrors the very instant you step through.
I assure you I was most attentive. And I agree that to go alone would be certain death. But if I were to bring along one who has already braved the 13th, and humbled the cloud of darkness, well, I imagine my chances would be much improved.
Count me in. And yeah, we have plot
I have a
armor,
feeling
that's
you
for
might
certain.
say that. Once again, I put my life in your ever-reliable hands. That said, as much as I would like to march straight back to the Void Gate, there is the small matter of being unable to open it without the Satrap's personal authority.
As I've said before, I will grant you and yours any boon you choose to name, provided it does not endanger my people.
You have my word that we will take every precaution. Not a single Voidsent will be allowed to threaten Radz-At-Han, assuming we manage to expand the portal in the first place.
You have a plan.
Actually, I had hoped you might help us with that. I presume the alchemists you retained supplied you with some explanation of their methodology.
That they did. House Daimir was overseeing the project.
Daimir. Ah, yes. The family associated with the great work.
I did not fully comprehend the theory, but their research began with a Voidsent which had slipped through the fissure. After a thorough examination, they created an arcane simulacrum possessed of similar qualities. A man-made Voidsent, if you will. It was apparently indispensable in their efforts to enlarge the gate.
A man-made Voidsent?
Yes. Being great admirers of the Archons, House Daemir submitted detailed notes to Sharlayan's official committee. They expected praise and accolades for their simulacrum, and were thus devastated to be informed that their work had been classified as prohibited material.
If that's true, then those notes might still be stored in a forbidden archive somewhere. Not Google, of course, since that library had yet to be built. Which leaves us with...
Old Sharlayan. It's Graha's favorite place to sneak around.
Indeed. Numenon's restricted stacks may very well hold a copy. In which case, I say we head directly to Sharlayan.
Unless you anticipate needing help to reach the high shelves. I see myself being of little use. Go on ahead. I still need to find Mirad and tell him about the Kalzal Foundation.
Nah, I don't think we're robbing it. I think we're just, you know,
Let us be on
borrowing a
our
book.
way as well.
Or perhaps checking it out.
They are resolved to venture into the void. Do I sit idly by?
Alright, to Old Sharlayan we go. And Y'shtola. If we're to enter Numenon's restrictive archives with a minimum of fuss, then we must secure the permission of the Forum. First, however, we shall need to enlist the cooperation of a member to broach the matter on our behalf. Who do you think might be inclined to assist us? How about Fortunal? No one springs to mind? What of the scholar Monteshan? He did come to Graha's defense during the inquiry, after all. 'Tis settled. Let us head to Phenomenon and see if he's willing to help us once more. Y'shtola is now accompanying you. Alright, and from what I understand, they have changed this now, so that even if you get ahead of her, she'll still be in the party. Alright, so our destination is actually over there, to the west. So we should be able to take the Aetherite, at least, I believe. Yep, there she is. I apprenticed to Master Matoya at the age of 7, and labored under her tutelage for a full decade. I never had the chance to attend the studio. Neither did Thancred, as I recall. Soon after Master Louisoix took him in off the streets, he was put in the care of another Archon. His was a rigorous and practical education in the arts of espionage and survival. I sometimes wonder what my life might have been like had I pursued studies here instead. Tea at the last stand after a day of lectures? Oh, that does sound lovely. Afternoons with friends spent sipping tea and debating theories. Still, I wouldn't give up my time with Master Matoya for the world. The dank cave I studied in was about as far from the bright, airy halls of the academia as one could get, but it was a wondrous, magical childhood nonetheless. And as you can see here, I've actually made some progress on the different things inside of here for crafter and gatherers. Not quite done, but getting there. Ah, visitors, and quite esteemed ones at that. What may I do for you? Pray forgive the intrusion, Scholar, but we were hoping you might help us secure permission to enter Numenon's restricted archives. Oh ho! No furtive forays into the stacks this time, eh? I applaud this newfound sense of propriety, yet in all this wide world of comparative serenity, what so compels you to disturb a vault of forbidden wisdom? Fascinating. I had no idea such a technique existed. I would have been surprised if you had. If my assumption is correct, the research left behind House Demir has lain dormant in Sharlayan's archives for many centuries. And if you unearth this research, what then? Surely you don't intend to cross over into the void. That is, in fact, precisely what we intend. To what end, pray tell? To develop a method of traveling the rift, for one, that I might keep my word to a distant friend. Sentiment aside, I have journeyed to the end of existence. I have heard, felt, and thought endlessly about the truth of our world and the echo of its future. And yet I want to understand everything, to unravel it all down to its very last secret. What scholar worthy of the name wouldn't force open a void gate or two if a grand revelation was the promised reward? Marvelous. An audacious proposal worthy of Master Matoya herself. And after hearing the whys and wherefores, I for one do not believe you would use the knowledge for ill. I see no reason not to present your request for the forum's consideration. Although, your petition would be better received if you also had the support of another well-placed acquaintance. Why, Master Fortunal, of course. Hey, I proposed him first! He can hardly ignore an earnest request from his dear children's most treasured comrades. I was hesitant to approach him directly, but there is no denying that having Master Fortunal on our side would tip the balance in our favor. Very well, we will pay a visit to the Levier estate and plead our case. Ah, one last thing before you go. I would consider it a personal favor if you might share with me the discoveries you make in the void. My appetite for knowledge is every bit as insatiable as yours, I'd wager, so if you could see your way to indulging an old man's curiosity. Of course, Scholar. We will be sure to pass on any revolutions. Alright, so we're gonna head out of here and make our way over to the Fortom's Manor. Or to the Levier estate. What am I saying? Fortom's. That's back in Ishgard. Wait. Levier. Ah, Master Prince, Mistress Y'shtola, how may I be of assistance? We've come to speak with Master Forsternal. Is he home by any chance? Yes, the Master is in residence. I shall inform him that he has guests. Well, Emilience would invite you inside for tea, but I assume this is not a social visit. You have some matter of import to discuss. Then pray proceed. You have my full attention. Need access to the Forbidden Archive. Well, I suppose I should praise you for following the proper protocols this time around. The Scarlock Montchagen expressed much the same sentiment. I assure you, we will not attempt to circumvent the Forum's authority again. Unless it is absolutely necessary, of course. Of course. You do understand that the restricted archives are restricted for good reason, yes? If no pressing needs exist, then why risk the consequences of employing this forbidden knowledge? For a brother who misses his sister, she was his guardian and his friend, a selfless hero who crossed the rift between worlds to save her homeland from horror and suffering. But the brother has given up on thoughts of reunion. He spends his efforts elsewhere, watching over a people yet healing from the flames of the final days, loyal to his duty while betraying the longing in his heart. 'Tis no vital mission, perhaps, reuniting these siblings, but it feels a worthy cause to pursue all the same. As one who feared losing his own loved ones, and spent years in research to prevent it, surely you appreciate how painful such a separation must be. Reflections are still very much a mystery to us. Offering to share your experiences in the first should constitute a fair exchange for our cooperation. Do not celebrate just yet. The Forum must still be convinced. I will add your request to the list of today's deliberations and deliver the decision to you at the Valdessian Annex. Alright, to the Valdessian Annex. So, what did the Forum decide? To put it bluntly, Master Matoya has burned some bridges here in Sharlayan, and salted the earth for good measure. When it became clear that her student was the petitioner in question, well, no few members voiced their discontent. Then the Chamber was reminded, in no uncertain terms, I might add, of the incredible debt we owe to you and your companions. That served to silence the grumbles and stiffen a few spines, and it was agreed that allowing you entry to the archives was the least we could do in return. That is wonderful news. Thank you both for speaking on our behalf. Yes, well, as I am sure you are aware, this permission was not extended lightly. Forbidden knowledge is to be treated with the utmost caution, and there will be repercussions if it is not. I wish you well in your endeavor, and bid you a good day. Ever the same, that one. Uncompromising. Aye, but that very stoicism is exactly what Sharlayan needed to guide it through not one, but two exoduses. Alright, Y'shtola. That went rather well, I think. As a child, I dreamed up any number of schemes for getting my hands on those forbidden tomes, and now I can simply walk in through the door. Our focus will be on finding House Damir's research notes, of course, but the thought of so much knowledge at my disposal has me feeling a little giddy. You'll be heading directly to the archives from here, I presume? You presume correctly. Then you'll want to speak with the index page when you arrive. It's been instructed to grant you access to the restricted sections. Excellent. Once again, we thank you for all your help. Oh, it was my pleasure, believe me. May you find the knowledge you seek. Shall we? Alright, so Y'shtola is joining us once again. And that appears to be... Let's see, what is this? Yeah, that's gonna be, Myths of the 12. Or, Myths of the Realm, rather. Just a small heads up, I've only got about another 30 minutes or so before I'm gonna have to close out for now. I hope we're gonna finish up the MSQ in time for that, but if not, I'll have to pick this up on another day, but let's see how we do. The set of instructions I laughingly imagined may actually exist, but yalms away from where you found me napping. If I had known of Alzadal's III's exploits sooner, I could well have saved myself days of research. Even a children's book might have pointed me in the right direction. To achieve the impossible, one must needs be flexible of mind and look beyond conventional wisdom. A lesson I had already learned, but clearly not taken to heart. Alright, index page. Archon Y'shtola and guest identified. Do you wish to proceed into the restricted archives? Follow me, if you would. Watch your step, and please note that the use of naked flames is discouraged. Feels like the opening of the dungeon here.
If House Damir's notes are to be found anywhere, it will be here. Let us begin.
A remix of the Great Google Library theme again. Today, in a world not my own, I met the most beautiful void-born creature. She was so unlike her ravenous brethren, eyes blazing not with hunger, but trembling, like a candle's flame, threatening to flicker out at any moment. I wonder if she is even the proper word. Such distinctions seem inconsequential, insignificant even. All that matters is the love I feel for this exquisite, transcendent being. Though you are tempted to read more, this does not seem to be the volume you're seeking. In the year 1564 of the 6th Astral Era, the Amalja summoned Ifrit, their patron god. Accounts describe the being as a gigantic lizard-like being with a potent command of fire-aspected magics. If we consider that primal summoning is an act fueled by faith and prayer, it is unsurprising, if not expected, that the resulting deiform entity should manifest the appearance of powers with which it is attributed by its worshippers. What then might emerge from the ether should one who believes in an almighty omniscience attempt the same ritual? Would the scholar himself grace us with his presence? Some other embodiment of divine sagacity? Could this man-made god truly be all-knowing? And if it were, whence would such knowledge arise? I myself have many questions concerning the nature of the ancient world. With no spell to transport me back to the days of old, could I instead summon a being possessed of encyclopedic wisdom of every age, yet with no means to verify its pronouncements? How could one be certain they were true? Summon a second one while you're at it? Just a thought. Though your mind spins with the possibilities discussed within, this does not seem to be the volume you are seeking. The following pages detail an advanced method for manipulating rift-spanning aperture as devised by Nuhashan, the 9th Patriarch of House Demir. We present these research notes to the faculty of Sharlayan Studium as both a token of our friendship and an expression of our boundless admiration. You appear to have located the forbidden volume you seek. Your Stola will need to make the final confirmation. Alright, might have found it. Have you something you'd like to show me, do you? My apologies, I flipped open a single book and was completely absorbed by the contents. A forbidden research log detailing an advanced method for manipulating rift-spanning apertures as devised by Nuhashnan, the 9th Patriarch of House Demir. Well done, Prince. I think you may have found our prize.
Yes, the ether signature is unmistakable. I've felt the traces of House Demir's resonance many times at the Great Work. Time to see what all the fuss was about. Among the ranks of the Voidsent, there exist entities with the power to call forth their brethren from beyond. The species known as Atomos, however, is uniquely prodigious in this regard.
That's an interesting idea.
From its distended maw, it can expel an endless procession of void-born creatures. A talent which sorely tested the Radiant Host in its battles against these abominations.
And in the final days of 1.0, or rather 1.23b, during the right before Dalamud came down. Atomos would basically essentially attack the Aether shards and bring forth Void Scent that would also attack, and players had to defeat the Atomos to clear the event that was happening at the camp at the time.
Surmising that the entity itself was acting as a void gate, we endeavored to capture a small specimen and subsequently examine its physiological structure. Our findings revealed that the Atomos had absorbed a planar fissure into its own flesh, which it could expand at will into a functioning gate. Upon further analysis, we identified an ethereal wave pattern emitted during this process. A pattern we were able to emulate by passing crystal-stored ether through a specially designed prism.
It's possible, but I did play a bit of 1.0, but I never continued on after how the launch went. So, unfortunately, I don't have a character that counts as legacy status.
We proceeded to embed said prism into an arcane simulacrum, thus completing what we have dubbed our artificial Atomos. How could I have been so blind to the possibilities? This species, not to mention its ability to summon Void Scent, has been discussed among academics for years now. Just before the advent of the 7th Umbral Calamity, we received reports of Atomos sightings from every corner of Eorzea. Surely you've at least heard the tales.
Oh my goodness, how did I... I called it before they even brought it up!
And still, House Daemir went and built a mock Atomos of their very own. I'm not surprised the Archons consigned their work to a restricted archive. 'Twas no easy task, but at last we've unearthed the volume we've been searching for. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't tempted to stay longer. See what other forbidden titles might be lurking on these shelves? Ah, but that would be abusing the very special privilege we've been granted now, wouldn't it? Better not.
Let's prove ourselves and then maybe you can come back again someday. As much as I would love to start crafting the Atomos, I'm afraid this is far outside my field of expertise. Fortunately, we know a Hanish alchemist who would be delighted to involve herself in our House Daemir project. Our business here is concluded, for the moment. Please pass on our regards to the forum. Your message will be conveyed. Should you wish to indulge in more forbidden literature, I will be here. Petron mode disabled. Security mode engaged. If anyone can help us, Nidhana can. I say we return to Thavnir and look for her at the Great Work. Alright. The Great Work it is. Y'shtola tells me you are pursuing a most fascinating study, and that you want me to be a part of it? I have no doubt you will be interested. This research log should speak for itself. Will it now? By the sisters! This is the mark of House Demir! I never even knew such a work existed. Few should. It was sequestered in Numenon's restricted archives, after all. It was? But that means every word within is forbidden knowledge. A forbidden tome filled with forbidden research, and you put it right into my unsuspecting hand? I can hardly wait to read it. To think that Demir were developing such marvelous technology so long ago. How many innovations have been lost over the centuries, I wonder? Now that you've glanced over the notes, what say you to helping us build a new mock Atomos? I say yes, 1,000 times yes. Work on a Demir project that had even the redoubtable scholars of Sharlayan trembling in their sandals? No alchemist of the great work could resist. You are a woman after my own heart. Oh, I suppose I should ask, what do you mean to do with this big-mouthed simulacrum once we've built it? So, there's a secret void gate, and it's sealed in the ruins at the bottom of the bounty. Today is a day of revelations indeed. If the purpose of our man-made Atomos is to expand this hidden portal, then I will need to see it for myself, I think. Manipulating rift-spanning apertures is not the sort of thing you want to attempt without first taking into account every single factor. Then by all means, accompany us to the vault. I plan to lead us back there shortly, once we finish gathering the components I require. Sharlayan's Marcus provided the raw aquamarine and pure water crystals, but I might need the help obtaining a small quantity of astrally infused water. For such a liquid, you need go no further than the font of Maya. The aesthetics of old once favored the place for their meditations, and the water which pools there now is known to enliven the flow of ether. That sounds perfect. If you would be so kind as to fill a flask at the pool, I will petition Vrtra to join us. The idea I have in mind won't amount to much without his authority to command the Void Gate. Shall we be about it then? We'll be back here anon. Alright, let us go ahead and grab that water. Right here. And back to the great work. Do you have that flask for me? Let's hand it over. Yes, this should suffice. Thank you, Prince. Let me grab Quick Arm. Okay, this might be the last quest of the MSQ. Look who I came across. Estinian seemed in need of diversion, and we, in turn, may have need of his lance. Right then, now that our little party is assembled, let us make our way to the ruins. Will we have need of Matsuya's boat again? Not this time. Once Yashola informed me of our destination, I arranged for a vessel to be made ready at Akiel. Your Excellency is ever the gracious host, shall we? Southeast we go. The ship is yours to command. Our thanks. We set sail at once. Oh, this is so exciting. Al-Zadal's legacy, to see the truth of a legend with mine own eyes. All aboard for the treasure vault.
The ruins alone were impressive enough, but I never dreamed such a treasure lay hidden in the depths of the bounty. It may have been helpful to know this device existed, Your Excellency.
My apologies. The gate was a secret I shared with none but my closest advisors. I feared for what might happen should those with ill intentions learn of its existence.
What is it you're doing now?
There's something I wish to verify. The NOAA reports claim that a short stint into the void carries little risk of etheric imbalance. Should one suffer an injury, however, or if one's expedition drags on longer than intended, that risk becomes significantly greater. Graha theorized that a warding scale would confer protection from the void's corrupting influence. But I would prefer to test that hypothesis before we set foot in the 13th ourselves.
So, this is an experiment of sorts?
Yes, an experiment. Tell me, how would you go about testing the efficacy of the warding scale?
Maybe send a familiar. A Porksy, perhaps.
Very good. I see you've been paying attention. As Vrtra sent his simulacrum, so too shall we rely on a familiar to bear the brunt of any unpleasant consequences. Now, a lowly imp can navigate a fissure, no matter how narrow.
Ah, just an imp. Got it.
Which means an arcane entity of similar stature should be able to manage the same. I hadn't wanted it to come to this, but no other familiars will do, I'm afraid.
Oh, then maybe Porksy after all. No, that was actually quite ethereal dense.
I mislike the sound of that. What manner of fiend does she mean to summon?
Actually, now I'm confused. It can't be a talking broom.
From ocean rise and cloudbank form, from mountain spring and rainfall storm, from river flow and life be born.
Water, water, froth and foam!
Oh, wait a minute, the second boss of the Matoya's relic?
Ready your arms. I fear she's been possessed.
Oh, come now. That was adorable.
Water, water, froth and foam! Time to play!
I think I guessed correctly. She can't believe she just did
Not
that.
my first choice. These familiars I conceived of as a child have the best chance of fitting through the gate. I only wish my younger self had considered a more dignified ending to the creation ritual.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
In any case, these two should serve us well. This one will bear a warding scale. And when they return from the 13th, we can observe how the talisman, or absence thereof, has affected the progress of the Void's corruption. If I could impose upon you to open the gate. Your Excellency?
Ah, yes, of course.
We should also be wary of void scent slipping through while we conduct our experiment. Estinian, you are to keep Nadana safe from harm.
As you say.
You had best be on your guard as well.
I can't let this one slip. Froth and foam.
Oh, are you volunteering to join the Nixies? I could shrink you down, you know.
And that's number 2 for today.
Let us begin, shall we? Nixies, into the void.
Water, water, froth and foam! Into shadow realms we go!
Alright, everyone, and so with that actually brings me to the end of my time here for today. So we are going to pick this up on another day here, as I think there's probably only just a short section left here until this is actually finished, but there's plenty of other content that's been released with this update. Plus, I actually do have an inkling of wanting to tackle the role quest content. If I bring up my character here, you can see I've pretty much got every class at level 90, except for Sage. I've been hanging on to them for the Beast Tribe, well, it's not called Beast Tribe anymore, but Tribal Quest, which I expect is going to unlock after the MSQ as well. So, a lot more content to go in 6.1 here. But yeah, that's going to do it for me for now. And with all that said, thank you for joining me today. This is PrinceBrightstar signing off. I'll catch you next time.